Spotify, or on Apple. Congressman Mark Harris of North Carolina's 8th Congressional District joins us now. Congressman, glad to have you on the program.
Hey, Will, it's great to be with you. Thank you for having me today.
I'm excited to talk. I want to talk to you about Charlotte, but I've got this conversation going because it's in the news cycle about Thomas Crooks, and Miranda Devine was on the show. I'd love to ask you two questions to the extent that you know as a public office holder. One, how much of the FBI is turned over when a new administration comes in? Like, is it just the top leadership, or is it, this is actually from a viewer who is watching right now, a listener, was curious about that, because we're talking about, the oddity of spanning administrations and not having new information on Crooks. How much is it a new FBI, actually? We know Bongino and Patel, and I'm sure they've made other changes, but, the FBI is a behemoth. What are we talking about that has actually changed from administration to administration?
Well, that's a great question, Will. It's my understanding that really it's particularly the top brass, if you will, the upper echelons of these departments that have changeover when an administration changes. As we've seen, there have been some of the career folks through the years that have been there, and I think oftentimes when we talk about the deep state, it's just like any other department that we've got where you may have people down at various levels that are not changed over. And it takes, I think, that's something that when Kash Patel took over the realm of FBI, that became sort of a priority, that he makes sure that we have an FBI that we can have confidence in and that they understand the priorities of this administration.
And the second question I wanted to ask you is it's really open, because I asked this, is why? Why are we deprived on this particular story, Thomas Crooks, right? That we have so little information outside of now a source that is given reporting to Tucker Carlson and to Miranda Devine at the New York Post. Why are we not getting more information in a case that has spanned two administrations?
Well, I think that your viewers, I thought I was listening in your last segment when you mentioned the poll that was done, and they seemed, kind of split over a third, and a third of those various reasons. And I do think that in reality that there's excellent questions of why, and I think you can only assume that there's some things there, that they don't feel like they are confident to go forward with. But there were so many questions about the Crooks case, all the way down to his phone and the amount of encryption that was involved there from foreign countries. And I think that obviously is information that I have to hope and believe that intelligence officials are aware of and are getting to the bottom of. And I think that, again, there seems to be a desire of the American people to want to know more of this information. I'm grateful for those that have been able to get to it.
All right. Congressman Mark Harris of North Carolina with us here on the program. So the headline is as follows today: Trump administration begins massive crackdown on violent illegal immigrants in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then this is an absolutely stunning stat, Congressman, that 21,000 kids did not show up for school in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District on Monday, the first day of operations. That's 15%, I believe, of the school district, Congressman. What am I supposed to make of that?
I think it's staggering, and I think exactly you can just look at it on its face, and it definitely rings and begs the question of what's going on there in our Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system, what's going on in the whole Charlotte-Mecklenburg area. I am very thankful that the Customs Border Patrol has made its way to Charlotte. I'm thankful that in the first really 2.5 days, 3 days, I heard a report this morning that there have been more than 200 arrests that have already been made. And when you look at the people that they are taking, these criminal illegal aliens, and bringing them off the streets of Charlotte, that can only be a good thing. It can only be a good thing for bringing down crime numbers. It can only be a good thing for making the people of Charlotte safe once again. And it can only be a good thing for restoring confidence in the people that really and truly law enforcement is doing their job. And that's a point I really want to make, Will. When you see, and there have been reaction from leaders in the city and even the governor that oftentimes comes off negative about CBP. But I want folks to understand, and I've been stressing on any time I've had a chance to talk about it, that the Border Patrol, they are law enforcement. That's what they are. And they deserve our respect, and they deserve our honor as law enforcement. And to be somehow teaching children that you're to be fearful of these people, well, it must only mean that you must be a criminal or you have some kind of criminal element going on in your area if you're living in fear. If you are not breaking law, I learned as a child growing up that policemen were our friend. Law enforcement was our friend, and we were always taught that and trained that. So I don't know what's happening here in our society that we somehow are trying to make these folks out to be enemies when they're really just simply protecting the public and enforcing the law.
Well, is that your takeaway, Congressman? Is your takeaway that, okay, 15% of the school district didn't show up for school, 21,000 kids. Is that a significant number of families in Charlotte, because they are Latino or because of some other reason, are in fear? And by the way, let's separate this into three groups. One, criminal illegal aliens committed a crime other than simply illegal immigration, right? There's no way that 21,000 kids fit that profile, or their families fit that profile. Next group, illegal immigrant in the country illegally, having broken the laws of the United States of America, immigrated here illegally. Now, that's got to be a much bigger number. Does that account for the full 15%? Or are you arguing there's a third group that believes, hey, I'm Latino, I'm an American citizen, or I'm a green card holder, I'm here legally, but I'm worried they're going to wrap up my kid or me picking up my kid from school? Do you think that represents, that last group is a significant percentage of the 15%?
I think it could very well represent that last group, but I think you've got to go back to the first group, that criminal element that is there, that is the target of Customs Border Patrol. But when you listen to what some of the elected leaders in Charlotte have been trying to say, when you look at what the governor has been trying to say, and when you look at the media and what they've been trying to present, those are the stories that unfortunately breed fear in the public, and particularly in those that are here and concerned for their children getting caught up. I've been stressing to people again and again, they are coming after the criminal illegal alien. When people say, but why do they come to Charlotte?
Okay.
I can only assume it's because they have intelligence. They have information that has caused them to come after the individuals that they're seeking. And you don't want to hang out with the bad criminal element, because you could get swept up in that moment.
Okay, let's stay with that first group, the criminal element. So this is the story. I believe this is at foxnews.com. Human trafficking soars in Blue City. It's a reference to Charlotte. As gangs, highways fuel perfect storm of child exploitation, say the experts. According to data, I believe that Charlotte comes in at 9th in the country in terms of child human trafficking, or human trafficking in general. And the article suggests that's because of your highway system, a huge intersection going, Charlotte's a bit of a hub point across the South of a lot of in and out highway systems. So is that something that you as a congressman, Charlotte has a problem with this, that number one, that criminal element, human trafficking, illegal stuff going on in your community?
That's exactly right. And it is. And, again, people want to talk about why it's the case. The fact that we have 77 and 85 going there and just a little to the east, Interstate 95 running up and down the East Coast. I get all that. But the fact that that's a reason we may have that problem, the problem still exists. And that's why we needed the Customs Border Patrol, and they chose to come to Charlotte, again, following intelligence, following information that they had in order to come and take some of these bad guys off the street. That's what we're looking for. That's what Charlotte needs. And I think the citizens overall in Charlotte are going to be grateful. It's a great city. It's got an incredible number of events, sporting events that happen there. Bowl games are going to be coming up very soon. The Panthers play there. And it's got a great theater. It's got great restaurants.
Wow.
We want everybody in the surrounding area to feel like they can come to Charlotte and they can be safe.
I don't know if I would bring the Panthers up on your selling point. I get it,
hey,
everything
we won
else.
Sunday, buddy. We won Sunday. Just remember, we beat the Falcons.
Okay. Yes. Congratulations to the
Thank
Panthers
you.
on their victory over the Falcons. No. Okay. Here's the thing, Congressman. Okay. Take the human trafficking. Take what's going on in Charlotte. Take the criminal element. My suspicion is that you have almost 100%. We could put the over under at 75% of approval rating for ICE and Border Patrol deportations of the criminal element of illegal immigrants in the country. Okay? I'm just guessing on the polling right now. All right?
Okay.
The third group, which we set aside, which may be living in fear inappropriately because of media malpractice and hype. American citizens or permanent residents who are like, oh my God, I don't want to get swept up in some raid. You know, I think that is that group needs to be set aside as well, because I do think that's a product of irresponsible conversation. But I think a responsible conversation, the one that is not being had, is the second group. Okay, it's the middle group. And that is the illegal immigrants in this country who are here illegally, having not committed any other crime but being here illegally. Now, I don't know where the polling is. I've seen something from 40 to 60% of people support the deportation of that group of people in America. But polling is important only insofar as it's politics. How that impacts your race, how it impacts the midterms, how it impacts President Trump. But I do know this. It is a democratically elected law to deport, to enforce the law on illegal immigration. That reflects popular will. We voted, and y'all voted on deporting illegal immigrants, irrespective of their criminal records.
Correct.
The question is why that group has all of a sudden gotten incredibly controversial. It's incredibly controversial to deport an illegal immigrant. It wasn't in the past. It wasn't in the 80s. Cheech and Chong made movies about La Migra coming to get them. We knew about raids in the 80s and the 90s if you were employing illegal immigrants. But somewhere recently, this has shifted, and this has become a thing that matters in polling and not in the enforcement of law. And I'm really fascinated by that. I understand that you have to factor it in on your next race, polling, but shouldn't we be enforcing the laws? If it's really unpopular, maybe we vote in new laws that we don't deport illegal immigrants.
Well, you're exactly right, Will. And we do need to have that conversation. And that conversation, I think, we have continued to say is going to take place. And I think we've got to look at how we're going to deal with immigration and even those that are here illegally. But make it clear, President Trump ran saying that he was going to secure the border, and then he has done that in a phenomenal way. Second step, after the border is secure, we've got to remove the criminal element out of this country. And that is what is given priority. It's the reason we made and increased the number of ICE agents significantly in the One Big Beautiful Bill that we passed. We wanted to be able to take care of that criminal element, the gangs, to get those people out of the United States of America. And once we feel like that we have accomplished step one of getting that border secure and that we are getting that criminal element out, I do believe there will be more and more conversations on what we're able to do moving forward. I just think it's important for folks to understand the president ran on establishing law and order in our cities. There's no debating that in many of our cities like Charlotte, we have got a number of illegal immigrants that are there. And we have that criminal element that is obviously there that they've been arresting here over the last few days. And I think it's just going to be a matter of time before we continue to have those conversations. But that's the reason Secretary Noem made it very clear in the opening days of this administration. And it's led to a couple million self-deporting in saying, we want you to go on your own. Offered them $1,000, offered them a free flight home, and then they could go through the process of applying so they could come back in. Listen, I've been a pastor for 36 years. I've told folks I can't imagine a more biblical approach than doing exactly what Secretary Noem has done when she made that announcement, and what this administration has tried to do to give folks a chance to self-deport, get things in order, and come back in legally. We've got to continue to keep that message consistent as we go forward.
Right. Two more questions really quickly on this, Congressman. You being a pastor, so that second group, deporting illegal immigrants, not criminal. I'm always, the language is always such a mess because it is criminal to be an illegal alien in the United States, but not a crime beyond not a crime beyond illegal immigration. That
Right.
seems to be the one that has inspired all the Catholic bishops, in America to put out their video, which they did over the last weekend, denouncing ICE deportations. I'm curious what you think about that. The Catholic bishops basically coming out together and denouncing the deportation of illegal immigrants.
Well, obviously, I disagree with that because I believe that we've got to be a nation of law and order. And that means that we've got to be a nation that has borders. And if we're not going to respect our law and order, to your point they made earlier, change the laws if you want to change the laws. We're not to that point yet. But I think that we've got to recognize that if we're not a nation of law and order, and I think biblically that is very clear. And so I disagree with that decision by the bishops to push in that direction. And I believe that we need to take the more biblical approach, and that is let's get ourselves established where we need to be, and then let's begin to help folks come here legally the way it was intended to do with immigration, legal immigration.
Well,
that's what we've got to continue to emphasize.
That's a whole nother ball of wax. That's a whole nother conversation. How much is appropriate? But one more last question, and I ask you this in your role as a congressman, perhaps in your conversations with Secretary Noem. Do you have any idea what ICE and Border Patrol deportations are as they break down in those three groups? You see, to be fair, the Trump administration and Republicans only talk about group number one, the criminals, okay? The left and TikTok, I know this. I live in Texas. They talk about the third group. They have you believe American citizens or permanent residents are being wrapped up in this type of thing unjustly and sent off to El Salvador. That's their narrative. And then there's that second group. Do you have any idea how it breaks down? What percentage fit into each bucket?
No, I don't know how that breaks down, but I think that's an incredible question, and I would love to ask that question. I would guess to venture a guess that it really and truly it is that first group, that criminal element that is at the top of the heap. Those are the ones that are being deported. I do not hear, in my district, at least in North Carolina, I do not hear of many cases at all. In fact, I talked to a friend of mine that was in Chicago, and there was so much false narrative that was being shared through the media that a Hispanic pastor pointed out and made clear that this whole thing that folks were showing up at churches and they were busting into worship services, this Hispanic pastor who had a very strong network said that he checked with all the people in his network and there was not a single instance where that had occurred. Again, people just create a narrative and run with it. And so I would venture the guess that I would think that it would be a very small element. Certainly in North Carolina, they're just in that third group for certain as the left is. And I would even imagine that that second group is a very small percentage, and that it's overwhelmingly those that have got a criminal record and criminal background that are actually being deported.
Yeah. I think you're right on the third group. My suspicion is it's very low to 0 to 1% in that permanent or legal mistakes. But the second group I'm fascinated by. What percentage is it between just illegal immigrants and criminal illegals? And I'm going to stay on that. I'm going to find out the answer to that. You said it's a good question. Thank you. I'm going to stay on it. I think the American people deserve the facts on that.
I think it's a great question, and I will raise it. I promise you that.
Thank you. Let us know. If you find out the answer before we do, I hope you'll let us know, Congressman.
Most definitely.
What are you? Are you a Tar Heel? Are you Wolfpack? Are you not a North Carolina guy all the way through? Are you Duke?
Listen,
oh God!
I got to tell you this. I went to Appalachian State University. My daughter went to App State. My second son went to UNC Chapel Hill, and my youngest son went to Wake Forest. So I tell folks if the Bible
North
says
Carolina,
that where your treasure is, and they say if where your treasure is, your heart will be also. Probably Wake Forest is where I dumped more money than any. So I'm a Deacon fan as a result of that.
I can imagine. It's not cheap, Wake Forest. Which, by the way, I've been told Wake Forest, like Duke, is a little bit of a Northeastern school. A lot of Northeasterners at Wake Forest. And I've also been told this recently.
Not quite like Duke, man.
Not quite.
Listen, if you try to compare any North Carolina school to Duke, you have just insulted us with a tremendous insult.
Well, let me end with a compliment then. I heard recently, this was just in the last couple of days, a school that people are hot on, it's on the rise, is App State. I heard
No
that recently.
question.
Hey, look at App State. It's a very popular new alternative people are talking about. Out of state.
It really is. Beautiful mountains of North Carolina. You cannot beat Boone, North Carolina. When I was going there many moons ago, there were a lot of folks that came from Florida to those cold mountains in the winter, but there's nothing that can beat App State for sure.
All right, Congressman, it's been a great conversation. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be with you, Will.